chat about kayak angling and the Western Canadian Kayak Fishing Trail, which is something that Aquabatics has been involved in for the past few years. So we've got Aquabatics Ambassador Trevor Thompson. Give us a wave there, Trevor, or the peace sign. That works too. We've got the founder of the trail and Mike Zillkowsky, who's also he's going to give me the correct title because I get it wrong, but he's also a pro staffer for Wildy. We'll get there in a minute. And then our Edmonton store manager, Andy Watt, down in the bottom corner there. So what the plan is for the next 40 minutes or so, if I can keep these three hooligans off of like making fun of each other, is to give everyone a little bit of an insight into what the Western Canadian Kayak Fishing Trail is all about, where it came from, where it's going, and how you can get involved in this great series of events. So Mike is the main organizer of the East Slope Fishing Classic, which is the biggest of the Alberta events anyway. And Mike's generously given up a free registration for that event this year. And I think that's worth about $75 or $80, right, Mike? Something like that.
Yeah, $75.
Perfect. So all you need to do is just say g'day, ask some questions in the comments there, and by putting your name in, you just get to go into the draw for that. I haven't made it there yet, but from all accounts, it's a fantastic and very social weekend. Let's just put it that way. It's very social.
Yeah.
So we'll start with you, Mike. So Mike, give us a short background of your time with Wilderness Systems, your job role, your title there, and what that all entails.
Yeah, so I started out, I bought my first wilderness kayak. It was a Tarpon 120, loved it, and I had the opportunity to hook up and really work with Simon and the crew at Aquabatics. Actually, my first year, I was a retail ambassador with Aquabatics, and it was great. We got out, we did lots of fun, played in the pool at the outdoorsman show, showed everybody what we could do with a ride kayak, and the next year, I got on as a pro staff with Wilderness Systems. Oh, that's 6-7 years ago. My role now with them is I am the Pacific Northwest team manager. So I've got from Manitoba west, the territories, and I also have Alaska and Washington and Oregon kind of in my group. So any of the wilderness pro staff that's involved in any of those areas, they kind of fall underneath me, and it's a great group of guys I've got. I've got a guy out on Vancouver Island, Anthony Reed, in Alberta here, Taryn Bernhardt, who's also an Aquabatic ambassador. Yep. He's one of my guys here. I've got Caden Fletcher out in Saskatchewan. And then I've got a couple guys down in Oregon. I've got Aaron Roberts, who's our global pro staff down there. And we've got another regional guy down there, Matt Burdick, and he's crushing it. Those guys in the States are killing me right now because they're just slamming fish left, right, and center.
We'll get there soon. Thanks, Mike. So, yeah, we've been working with Mike basically since day one of kayak fishing and Aquabatics, and he really, taught me the ropes, so to speak, helped me catch my first pike, which was pretty fun too. So that was pretty sweet. Yeah, it was not a good one, but whatever, man. I'll take it.
I've got the picture if anybody wants it.
So do I. I know that I know it's not a big deal, but I was proud of myself. And then we got Andy down in the bottom left here. Many of you will have met him through Aquabatics or through the events. And so, Andy, tell us a little bit about how you got involved with kayak angling and the trail.
So it started at the beginning. It was on a whim purchase. I bought a kayak at a box store. When I found about the trail, it was one of those 12:30 in the morning kind of decisions. I was searching on the computer and I found it. Emailed Mike, sent him some money, and just kind of showed up. And it's kind of been downhill ever since. I think I've been in 5 East Slopes now. This will be my 5th. Or no, I've been in 5. I started with the trail when it came out. This will be going on to its 3rd year now this year. And it's just something I'm passionate about. I like kayak fishing. Through that, I ended up being on the Jackson ambassador team for a little bit, where I met Simon, and then I heard they were opening a store. I sent them my resume. I must have said something he liked because now I work at Aquabatics, right?
I made a note in my. I put something down in my notes here that from pretty much the minute I met you, you made fun of me, and so I found that I was like, yeah, dude, totally. Remember when you didn't tie the boats on properly and they fell off? I was driving. Totally my fault. My fault. I was the driver.
So my good buddy Joel, I'll throw him under the bus on that one. But in actuality, I think the driver's the one that's supposed to check the straps, Simon. I'm just pointing that out.
Absolutely right. I'd managed to get to nearly 40 years old without a kayak ever falling off any vehicle I was driving. And I'm pretty sure I told you that the day before. And then I drove. I kind of felt like you might have sabotaged me, but driver's responsibility.
Now, so, yeah. I do want to point out that Jackson Cruise that did fall off the truck doing about 60 kilometers an hour paddled great that afternoon.
I don't think it even had a scratch on it, man. I think we sold it in the boat swap today.
Perfect.
So moving on, last not least, Trevor. So Trevor's a member of the Aquabatics ambassador team this year, and he's been really bending over backwards to help us out through what is a pretty challenging time for us and for many others. And so I'm really super grateful for that. And so Trevor, how, did you start out fishing before kayak angling, or was it something that kind of all happened together? And tell us how that kind of came to be.
Yeah, no, I've been fishing ever since I was a little squirt. My dad used to take me out fishing on our little, little aluminum boat, which I still have now. And then I used to do a lot of dock fishing anytime when we were camping when I was kids. Anytime I could throw a line in the water. Spent a lot of time in ponds growing up as well too, trout fishing. And then as I got older, and I took over the car topper boat from my old man, and had that until about 3 years ago. I still got it in the backyard. It's just going to be planting flowers in it soon or something like that. But I bought my first kayak 3 years ago, and bought it mainly because I always took my chocolate lab with me, and so I needed a big boat for the two of us. And the rest is, I met Andy and Mike 2 years ago, last year. Got introduced to Aquabatics at your guys' open house in Edmonton last year in April. And it's just been, everything's kind of really unwound on me pretty fast with the whole kayak fishing and everything, but I love it and super passionate about it. So,
dude, you've already got a fleet. You're gonna be able to run your own rental program if you keep at the rate you're going, man.
Yeah, my family, extended family, has a little bit of a kayak problem for sure. There's a lot of boats in the garage right now, so I think I might have you beat, Mike. It's pretty close. Close.
Yeah, they make me 10-step programs for people like that, Trevor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a paddling program, Andy.
Yeah. So real quick fire question. We'll start with Trevor, go to Mike, and then Andy. Favorite, and this could be me being poorly versed in the world of kayak angling. Favorite fish to catch, Trevor?
Lake trout.
Lake trout. Mike?
Freshwater, I love northern pike. Pike's my go-to. And then in the salt, as much as I love saying salmon, Dan Bordage and I had a hell of a good time catching dogfish one day. So that's dogfish and pike. They're both a bottom feeding shark of some sort. So it's good.
Andy?
Walleye, hands down.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. So, Mike, just some, and boys, feel free to chime in and ask questions amongst yourselves as well. It doesn't have to be totally directed by me. So we're here. So the Western Canada Kayak Fishing Trail really seems to be quite unique here in Canada. It seems to be quite well organized. You have a whole bunch of different people organizing events. You have some signature events like the East Slope and Moocher Bay seem to be two of the big ones. Mike, can you just give us like a real short sort of rundown on the history of the trail so that people listening can kind of get a feel for where it came from?
Yeah, absolutely. So first, just saw Rita Boychuk put a thing up. Yeah, absolutely. You can any manpower craft. So if you want to float a bathtub out there, if you can paddle it, you can fish the Derby. So yeah. Okay. So the history of the trail. We've been running the East Slope now. This year will be the East Slope's 10th year. 3 years ago, I made the trek out to Mucha Bay. Absolutely loved it. Thought, wow, this is an amazing event. And decided that, we should have a trail. So last year, or I guess 2 years ago, I started the kayak fishing trail just because I wanted to give a chance to all the anglers in Western Canada to fish with each other, to give you something that you could talk smack about for a year, saying you're the best angler out of everybody. Now, when I say best angler, you got the most points.
Yeah, good clarification there.
It was really an opportunity for us all we were all fishing together anyways, so let's make something of it. I mean, we used to, as kayak anglers, everybody that's on the feed right now, I'm sure you guys have all been at, we've got a Facebook group even that you just write on there, hey, go and kayak fishing to this lake on this day. And you pull up at the launch and there's 15 people waiting for you, wondering why you took so long. So we just decided, let's organize some derbies and roll with it. And yeah, it's friendly competition, and it's just a way for us all to get together and justify to our spouses why we have to go.
Yeah, exactly. So with all of that, that's great. Like it's a very organic way that it came to be, which is really nice. I think that gives it a level of authenticity that events that grow into these big things quickly don't necessarily have. So you put in a ton of work. Like you've put in a ton of work over the years to get East Slope up to the point that it's at and everything. So really quick answers. What's your favorite part of running the fishing trail or running East Slope? What's your favorite part?
My favorite part, it's hands down, it's getting out, meeting the other kayak anglers, sharing my passion, and ultimately, we're all about the same thing. Kayak anglers are probably one of the top groups of sustainable fishermen. We all practice catch and release. We get out, we get on the water, we fish with each other. Oh, the wife's mad at me. honey. It's my favorite part of any of the derbies is just being able to go out and enjoy my passion of kayak fishing with friends and family.
Nice. What's your least favorite part about being the guy on the spot on those days?
You know what? There's not much that I don't like about it. If I had to pick one, I'd got to say, as with anything you ever do, there's always that negativity that some people bring to it. Well, you should do it this way. You should do it that way. And it's like, please step up and help then. And yet I've yet to have one of those guys step up to help that was really negative about it. So that's the biggest thing. That, and, when my son outfishes me at every derby we fish, being 8 years old. So
yeah, I think you might as well just get used to that sooner than later. It's just going to be how it goes. So Andy, so for you, what's your relationship with the trail been? Like, how long have you been fishing the trail, and what was the first event? Was it the East Slope was your first event?
East Slope's been a standalone event for a decade now. And then when the trail started, well, this will be his third year now. So when it started 3 years ago, it was just kind of an addition. People were wanting more, and Mike jumped in and did it. I've been fishing the trail since it started. I did okay my first year. I did even better last year. This year, I don't know what's going to happen with the current climate, but I want to keep on fishing it. I like the organization part of it. I've done 2 tournaments now, one the first year and one the second year. I picked the ones in the fall for a reason, because honestly, less people show up. The people who do show up are a little more committed because they're making a run to win the trail. And it's just a fun time. I have yet to anybody say they've had a bad experience. And another perk is you get to see people's true fish. Because if you ask any angler like Trevor, how big's your fish?
Wow.
They're always going to add an extra 6 inches, right? So being the organizer, you get to see firsthand people's fish and where they stand. But ultimately, it's just a good time. We like to have fun. We like to joke around, camp out the night before, have a few beers on a Friday night, and wake up and go fishing, right? Like when I tell anybody, the one thing I tell people is where else do you go camping when everybody's asleep at 10 o'clock?
He's such a ruckus bunch of crew you are, right?
Hey, there is a group, and I see they're watching. I'm going to give the shout out to John and Adrian. they do not sleep. They just party and they still get out fishing.
I can tell you guys a great story about those two at Burnstick last year. But before I say that, Andy, your infamous trick is holding the fish very close to the camera so they look very large. So let's not fool anybody by your fish pics, pal.
So, all right. So, John, I am definitely not this person. So, who is the woman? Who's the better fisher? Human. But who's the better fisher human out of the three of you? Because I am last for sure.
Well, you live in Alberta. The best fisherman or angler, I use the term angler because it's all inclusive. The best angler in Alberta is the person who can afford the gas to drive to the big lakes. Period.
Right. All right. So if that's the case, who's the best party animal? Who can make it past 10:30? I can.
Oh, I can.
I do sometimes. Trevor won the party at East Slope last year.
Did he? Nice.
Adrian won the party last year.
True. True.
Yeah, winner. You know what? Saturday night, I ended up all by myself in front of the fire at about 11 o'clock. Everybody deserted me.
Trevor, no. Maybe. Does that say a lot about the people you're fishing with, or about you?
All right. So before World War III starts, we've got someone has voted John and Adrian as the winners for the party for sure.
Oh yeah.
So Trevor, give us a little bit of a rundown on your experience so far with the fishing trail, how you got involved and everything.
Well, so like I said earlier, I when I met when the open house was last year at Edmonton, that's when I got introduced to the trail and learned about all the events. That's when I met Andy for the first time too. And then my first event on the trail was the Battle of Buffalo Lake last year. I think that's Rob Griffith's derby. Okay, so that was my first derby. And I mean, for me, it was just like, you're going to give me an excuse to spend from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the water to fish and like all inclusive. So it just totally made sense to me. Right. So, and then I think I attended 6 or 7 events last year. And so, I mean, if it wasn't for essentially your guys' store, opening a store in Edmonton, chances are I would even to this day even know about the trail. All right. So just you guys spreading the word has made, shown it to me, and I've shown it to everybody I know as well too. Right. So.
Nice. And so guys, it's a tight group. You have this great community of guys and girls who get out fishing together. How, like someone who's outside looking in, right? And is like, I fish, I want to get into kayak angling, and this trail thing kind of sounds fun. Like, what do you tell them? How do you go from being someone who's like, oh man, this seems cool? How do you get into it? Mike, maybe I'll start with you. What would you tell someone in that position?
Honestly, your first step, if somebody just wants to get into kayak fishing, join the Facebook group that we've got, the Western Canadian Kayak Fishing Facebook group, and just write, hey, brand new, want to buy a kayak? You've instantly got 350 new friends that want to help you out and take you fishing.
Right.
But, we've got a great group, and I mean, I can say this, I'm with Wilderness. I've worked shows where Andy and I are working when Andy was still on Jackson's team, and it's like you're talking to a guy and he's like, yeah, I'm not really thinking that the Wilderness is what I want. Okay, well, let me introduce you to Andy. Right. It's funny. Up in Canada, we seem to have this totally different look at it that, yeah, we want people to get involved with the boats that we're paddling, but ultimately we just want to see more people out in the water. So it's such a great group of people that are just there to help each other out however they can, do whatever they can for each other. So yeah, just ask a question of any kayak angler you ever see, and you're gonna be there.
As long as it's not where their secret fishing spot is, right?
Well, that depends. I no longer have any secret spots because I've shown them all to everybody else.
That's right. Yeah, it starts out like that. It was like we were talking about yesterday. It's like ski touring. You have these spots that you won't tell anyone about, and you go to all lengths to hide them, but eventually people find them, and then they're not secret anymore. So like overall, the trail, you know, it sounds like just an incredibly welcoming environment. So really, whether you're on your own or you come with a friend, or if you're a female or a male, or, you know, whatever sort of combination of humans you are, like, it seems like you'd be pretty well accepted and it's pretty easy to get involved, right? Would you agree with that, Trevor?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, when we went to Derby last year, Cold Lake, I mean, to me, I never thought I'd go on Cold Lake in a normal boat, let alone a kayak, right? To me, that's a pretty intimidating lake. And so when the Derby came up, we took the opportunity to go, and that was Terry's first Derby, actually. I mean, we were in swells 2 feet deep in the morning at about 8 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah.
But we fished the whole day out. It was awesome. It was a tough fishing day, but I mean, it's just the trail and the Derbies give an option for whomever wants to fish to go and fish, participate, win or lose. I mean, nobody likes to get skunked, but having the opportunity to discover new lakes, be out there with awesome people helping you land fish if you need a hand, right? I mean, camaraderie's really good, right? I like to compete, but I also just like to fish and see other people, you know, getting some goals, getting some personal bests. So
nice.
Yeah.
And so Andy, you went pretty hard on the trail last year. You were gunning for gold, and you came pretty close. I think. So that was me complimenting him. I don't know how you turned that into that. That's all right. We'll go with that. I think you guys can turn anything around.
So sorry to cut you off, Simon. What they're referring to there would be the 1/4 inch that Rob beat me at the first trout tournament.
Oh, right. Okay. Gotcha.
Seems like a common theme.
Oh, dear me. We've kept it like above board until now. This is why we left this one till 4 o'clock. We figured all the kids would be in bed by now. So back on track. So Andy, tell us how the points work, and if you really want to gun for the trophy, like how does that look, and how do you go about that?
With right now, there's about a dozen guys, maybe 15 or so guys and girls who are going hard on the trail and who wanna try to take the gold. You don't really win anything. It's just a title.
I was gonna ask you that.
But it is honestly showing up and fishing. There's some tournaments where, you know, you look at it, like East Slope will have anywhere from 50 to 75 guys at it.
Okay.
So whereas some of the later tournaments of the year might only have 15. Each tournament's based off a 100-point system. First place gets 100, second place gets 99, and it goes down from there.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah.
At the end of the season, they take, I think for the past 2 years anyway, it's been the best 5 out of 7, or they always drop 2. So you can afford to miss 1 or 2 and still do well on the trail. But if you're going to miss 1 or 2, you got to look at the numbers. You have a better chance just by numbers showing up to a tournament later in the season that only has 20 guys at it than you do showing up at a tournament that has 70 guys at it.
Right.
You know, so like the Mooka Bay tournament I went to was a fantastic time and a great fishing spot. I don't think I can afford it this year, but I can afford to miss that one because the chances of points anyway are slim to none, right? Like
you get so many
there's a way of looking at it with science, but the best way is honestly just show up and fish to as many as you can.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it seems to me, and all of you can chime in on this because I think you've all obviously been to both, is it seems like the premier events, like the big events where you get the 70 to 100 or more people, are Mooka Bay and East Slope. Is that correct? They're the two big ones?
Yeah. East Slope for freshwater, and then the only saltwater one that we have in the Western Canada Trail is Mooka Bay. And yeah, I mean, between the two, we can look at close to 200 anglers. So yeah, it's good.
Okay, so tell me about that coast one, because it's super intriguing to me. It sounds like a total bro down on the coast with a bunch of people, some anglers from everywhere, and everyone who's been to it, whether it's been Neil or you guys, are just raved about it, and people pull like 14-hour drives to get there or whatever it is.
That's nothing. So yeah, the first year I went, Dan Bordage and I decided to go out. So went and picked him up at his place, he came down to my place. We left his truck here and left to my house. I drove we took my truck the first year, and it was just drive and drive and drive and drive and drive. And it was, you stop for gas. When you stop for gas, you're swapping around and driving it. 19 and a half hours to get out to Mucha Bay.
Okay.
So luckily you've got a ferry in between that you can hop on. And so when Dan and I did it, we decided to take a little bit of time. The first year when we went out, we went down into Victoria there. We went and toured the Scotty factory. We fished the south end of the island. We stopped up in Parksville, tried fishing at Nile Creek. That's where we ended up with the dogfish. But yeah, then you hit Mucha Bay, and it's just this beautiful, beautiful site that you pull into, and you're like, wow, this is awesome. And then the kayaks start showing up, and they don't stop showing up. And the next thing you know, it's just, don't worry, Curtis, it's just jet fuel. He's okay. Yeah, it's just the anglers at Mucha. It's just great. First thing in the morning, Dan just writes epic trip. It was great. First thing in the morning, it's still pitch black, and you've got 100 guys sitting in their kayaks waiting for somebody to say go, and you're trying to find where the hell you're going in the pitch black because it's still black. And you get out there and you just fish. And we've been fortunate that I missed last year, but the 2 years previous, we went out and it was you're looking at your fish finder and there's salmon coming in that as you're dropping your jig down, it's just bouncing off fish the whole way down. Like it was just absolute crazy. And the camaraderie, up until I attended a Mucha Bay event, we'd always done, kind of the when the tournament the East Slope got past me, it was, well, we're just going to run it as, it's a solo event. There's no nothing. I went out there and saw, they're like, yeah, absolutely, help each other. And I thought, why are we not doing this? Right. So really that first time I attended Mucha, as fantastic as it was, and the camaraderie that was there, that's inspired that's changed the East Slope in the past 2 years as well and opened it up for more. But yeah, it's one of those things. I have to say to anybody, if you get a chance, East Slope and Mucha Bay, I mean, we've got amazing sponsors, Wilderness Systems, Old Town Kayaks. Scotty's been with both for years. Kokatat's in there. Like Kokatat's been with the East Slope since the beginning. Since the start. Werner Paddles, Garmin supplies gear. Out on the coast, Buzz Bomb has their own division. We've got some amazing sponsors that help us out. And that's really what makes these tournaments what they are, because we're able to offer these big prizes that really brings people in. Yeah, it's super cool. And Andy and Trevor, you've both been to Mucha as well?
I haven't.
I have.
No.
Okay. How was your experience at Mucha?
The drive is daunting. I met my carpool in Kamloops, so it was quite a drive. Got on the ferry. We drove all night. Like, it's one of those crazy drive trips. You get there, and it was a great time. The yurt accommodations for the price are fantastic. The scenery is beautiful. The fishing was cool. It was interesting for me. I still remember my first time. I sleep in. I'm not an early morning angler. So I paddle out there, and I'm like, there's about 100 people 10 feet away from each other jigging for salmon. And it's something that was
social distancing.
Completely new to me, because I'm a bit of a loner when it comes to fishing. And all the tournaments in Alberta, you kind of go off and do it yourself. The fish don't school up like that. Right. So it took a bit of getting used to fishing around people. That first time you hook into a fish and you accidentally run into 3 people and you apologize, and then it happens to you 3 times. And it's just a really friendly, nice community. That's the one thing I liked about it the best. The people organizing it are top notch. The services they offer to process the fish, if you choose to take some home, are top notch. It's just an all around good place to be. Yeah.
Nice. And so when you guys were talking about you said, Mike, when you went to Mucha the first time, you saw the camaraderie and the working together piece, and then you translated that back into East Slope. Can you kind of talk me through what that looks like? Because it sounds like a mass start. It sounds like Mucha Bay is like a mass start.
Well, and all of our derbies are a mass start.
Okay.
It's at the go, you just take off.
Okay.
With the East Slope the last few years, because we've had so many people, instead of cramming into one small launch, at 6 o'clock in the morning, everybody's meeting at a hall, and we're saying, okay, go from there. Out at Mucha, everybody's already sitting in their boats at first light waiting. But yeah, like with Mucha, what it was, you're allowed to help other anglers. You're allowed a couple people in a boat. Whereas when the tournament got passed off to me after the second year, I guess technically the third year, after the third year, I took it over wholly. But it was always, it's a solo event. You can't help. And we're kayak fishermen. We're there to promote sustainable fishing. Well, there's nothing better for fishing than when a guy's having a problem landing a fish, that you go over and give him a hand landing that fish, getting that hook out, getting that fish safely back into the water.
Yeah.
So after attending Mucha that first year, I looked at it and said, no, we're implementing this 100%. If you need to help somebody land their fish or whatever, absolutely, we're gonna incorporate that into our derbies here in Alberta.
That's super cool. It's great. It's good how seeing things evolve. So Chris had a question for you, which is probably on many people's minds, given what's going on right now with the whole coronavirus thing. So, do you want to address? We discussed this yesterday a little bit. So, I guess we'll start with Trevor, because like, you're going to run an event this year. What are your thoughts and plans for the event that you were going to run this year, and what are you thinking?
Well, that's I don't know. Mike, that's I guess a conversation we all have to have with Mike for that. But the derby I was going to be am running this year is dried meat, which is just south of Camrose. So last year that derby, I think if I remember correctly, had 37 or 38 people. So right. I mean, it's a pretty small launch. It'd be tough to probably physical distance from there. So that one this year is planned for June 13th. So right. I mean, there's a lot of stuff still up in the air. I mean, if it works out, then it's awesome for everybody, right? It's a pretty good central location. So I think it's attractive to a lot of people, but how it's going to look, I mean, I don't know. I think everybody's just kind of waiting it out right now. I mean, just hoping for the best. I know Mike had talked a little bit about trying to do an online thing and submitting fish via pictures and tokens. And I mean, I'll leave that. That's definitely a better question for him. Yeah, I mean, regardless, I hope we can get some derbies in this year. I mean, everybody's stoked and looking forward to them, and myself, my family, everybody, right? So.
Yeah. So is there any thoughts, Mike, around, I know we chatted, I guess, when you look at the core value statement, I guess, of what the events are all about, how much value is there doing it online? Like, there's obviously the competition part, which everyone likes competition for sure. Well, not everyone, but we like it. But it seems like the social aspect of it is so important. How do you sort of replicate that to some degree if we are indeed unable to kind of go fishing in that kind of context together?
Yeah, so I just had a chat with one of the senior fisheries biologists in the province on Wednesday, and we were talking about this because it's something that's been kind of weighing on my mind as to how we're going to do it. Usually our first event of the year is a memorial derby for my dad. It's a fly derby. Well, this year the lake we wanted to do it on, they had a winter kill, and so I talked to that biologist. It's like, yeah, we're not really even issuing any more licenses. So I talked to the biologist that I deal with the most, and he's very optimistic. I'm going to say that to everybody. He's very optimistic that a lot of regulations will be relaxed. So when a fisheries guy is telling me that, I'm really, really hoping that means that we're going to see some provincial park launches opened, this kind of stuff. We're going to do whatever we can. Obviously, the last thing that any of us as organizers want to do is endanger anybody.
Yeah.
If we're able to still run the derbies, great. It might be if we're still going to run them on a lake like Allen's, Trevor, sorry, whatever.
Call me whatever you want.
Just so everybody knows, it's Trevor and Allen is the same dude. It just depends if you're talking to him or looking on Facebook. So, one of the things that I was talking with fisheries, obviously, they really want us to be looking at the invasive species, stuff like that. So we've already purchased the exact same chemical they use for spraying down boats, all this. I'm working to try and get some of our organizers actually qualified to do the boat inspections.
Oh, well.
Kind of take all that away from them, that the only concern that they would possibly have is, well, you're going to have this many guys on the water. Well, maybe, for dried meat, maybe Trevor says, okay, if we've got 28 people registered, you guys are going out at 6, you guys at 6:30, you guys at 7. We can, and as a group, we'll all look at it. Maybe we do staggered starts and finishes, and that'll allow us that ability to still fish the lakes. If we have to go online, absolutely, Chris. I've been thinking about it, and if you've got an app that you're thinking of, please, man, reach out to me. I've been looking at some things. I've had lots of people say, "Oh, let's go Tourney X." There's a lot of cost with Tourney X that a lot of people don't know. I've checked into it. The guy who created Tourney X is actually a guy that I know down in the States. And so, yeah, there's costs with it, stuff like that. But, we'll find a way. If I've got to give you all my cell phone number and say, when you get a fish, text me your picture and I'll write it down. We're going to fish. I don't care. We will all get out in the water. We'll fish. We're lucky enough that a lot of these lakes, maybe it's not a designated launch. Maybe we're just saying, for dried meat, maybe we try and find 4 other launches and we say, okay, you group,
right?
Here you go. We're just going to throw your name in a hat, and there's going to be 6 guys launching from each place. And if your name's pulled, that's where you got to fish from.
Yeah.
However, as a group of organizers, and we've got 3 organizers on the call right now, but we're still like Dave Suave is Cold Lake, Carl Ball organized Lesser Slave Lake. We've got 3 derbies planned for Saskatchewan this year.
Oh,
so
wow.
We're still waiting. We're waiting to see what happens with them. But as a group of organizers, you've got 8 or 9 people that are kind of sitting down saying, let's come up with something. So, no matter what, guys, we're going to do something. We've always been fortunate enough that we've got sponsors. If you want to know what you win, just ask Eric, because he's won the past 2 years. So, I've made up a trophy for the first place finisher, and every year we try and send him something. We get stuff from our sponsors, Scotty, all this kind of stuff. We throw it out there. I've reached out to Yak Attack, and they're more than willing that if we're going to do online, we'll do an online weekend. And it's just, no, John, you cannot date Alan. You can date Trevor, but not Alan. But yeah, so we're looking at it. If we can run some online derbies, we're absolutely going to do it, guys. We want to do whatever we can to keep everybody in the fishing community active. Yeah, and Aquabatics has been huge for the East Slope, and they've sponsored. We won't be running the sucker derby this year because we've had nothing but bad luck trying to find suckers.
Skunked.
No, we got suckered on suckers, but suckers. They've provided sponsorship for derbies. We'll reach out. We'll get Aquabatics involved. We'll get Cocotat. We'll get Scotty. We'll get Wilderness. We'll find a way to still get everybody out there participating in one way or another.
That's cool. Yeah, it's good to be creative. I think these are sort of crazy times. You just got to put your thinking cap on, right? It's really nice to hear. So, I think I got some questions. So that was a good serious topic. I think the tone of this has been very lighthearted. So I'm gonna give you guys some quick fire questions. Start with Trevor. And so what's your who's muffling stuff around? So what's your current fishing rig of choice? And how does it look?
Well, everybody knows my boat on the trail, Jackson Big Tuna, red, white, and blue, sticks out like a sore thumb. You can see me from 100 miles, and there's a lot of gear on it usually. A lot of rods, a lot of Yak Attack gear. Okay, that's my go-to. And when I can, I usually try to get into shore if I'm camping with the dog, and I take the dog out on the derbies as well too. So.
Cool. And so are you a DIY guy or a buy it out of the box and put it on the boat guy?
Both. I got a little running joke with a few people that my kayak crate's $1 million crate because I've probably spent about
that's
equivalent of about 2 years of time on my crate.
Yeah.
But no, I like the DIY stuff. I'm a machinist by trade, right? So I can do a lot of stuff myself. But if there's a product out there that I can buy and bolt it on or fasten it and it works great, I'm game for that, right? So
nice. That's awesome. All right, Mike. So what's your? I know you've got. Well, you're like Trevor. You guys have like a million boats, but if you had to choose one boat, which is it?
Right now, I've got 2 Radar 115s that I absolutely love. Looking forward for the Recon release. Once the Recon comes out, that's going to be my boat. But I love I got a Radar 115 with the pedal drive, loaded with Scotty gear. I got Yak Power for my lighting and all my power on it. And for myself, I'm more of a buy it rather than build it. I could probably build it, but you know what? I really like supporting our sponsors. I've got different gear for different lakes I go on, everything. So I try and support whoever supports us in the trail.
Perfect. What about you, Andy? What's your rig? And are you I know the answer to this, but are you a DIY guy or a out of the box guy?
It's got a coffee cup and a cigarette.
Well, one's my cold coffee and one's my pop.
Picture of bloody health, mate. Picture health.
Yeah. So my boat of choice right now is a Kuza FD, and as far as I'm like the happy medium between do it yourself and buy it from the store. If I don't like something or can't find it, I'll try to make it. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll just add enough tape to it till it works.
Kind of like your Riot kayak.
Other times, like I'm a big fan of the Aquabatics rod holder. I think they're the bee's knees, right? There's lots of stuff out there I like. Right now, I'm a less is more guy. The less stuff I have in front of me on the boat, the better it is.
Yeah.
But the new Old Town boats coming out look pretty sweet too. So there may be a change next year. We'll see.
All right. So on the count of 3, you're gonna just say Scotty or Yak Attack. 1, 2, 3.
Yak Attack.
Scotty.
Ram.
Oh, all right. And so Andy, we'll start with you. A competition or solitude?
Again, it's a happy medium, right? Like last year I went on the trail really hard and all the folks that I fished with were fantastic, but that included like you approved my time off, Simon.
Yeah.
Like so that was pretty much all my time off, right? So this year I'm going to do a little more fishing for myself. I got a few spots I want to hit. And I definitely want to hit some of the bigger tournaments and some of my favorite places to fish.
Okay. Mike, solitude or competition?
You know what? If I'm fly fishing for trout, 100% solitude. Otherwise, I love being out with other people, just fishing and sharing my passion. With me, it's a lot of it. I love being out there with the family, right? My son he fished Ben. Everybody on the trail knows Ben. He fished Andy's Derby last year in a perception kayak, and he was standing up in a perception pescador, paddling it, and hooked into a pike and landed it while standing up at 8 years old. So, that's my dude right there.
That's amazing. Trevor, what about you? Competition or solitude?
Both. I mean, I love the last year was the first year for the trail for me, so I love the competition. But I mean, I love to be out just paddling, and that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest things I found is, as much as I love fishing, I mean, you can put on a lot of miles paddling a boat with your line in the water. If you catch something great, it's just almost like an added bonus, right? But your brain's off, and you're paddling. There's motion, and you're just being outside. It's so
that's what people who can't catch fish say.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, just listening. Yeah, just a little shout out to Tim Norman there. Him and I are teaming up for the East Slope this year, and we're gonna rock it. So you just watch out there, Andy.
I hope he's paying you good money, Tim.
Hey, Trevor, just remember that Ben is my partner this year. So
somebody's got to carry the old man, right?
I'm good at it, dude.
Yeah, man. Take it how you can get it, right? Like whatever, man. Just a couple more, and then we'll wrap it up. So, Andy, paddle, pedal, or power?
All three. Whatever gets you on the water.
You guys are hopeless at this. You just like all of them. You're like my kids. Do you like pizza? All of them. Mike, paddle, or power?
I hate to sound like Andy, dear God, but if I'm in a river or if I'm in the weeds, stuff like that, 100% paddling. I like to do a lot of stand up. So
yeah,
but yeah, pedal drive. And for me, I've got the Helix MD that I can drop into my kayaks. So that's a lot of fun. You just drop it in, set the kids in front of you, let them control the throttle, and you just
yeah. Nice. Trevor, you're a paddler, aren't you?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you're a paddler.
Yes, sir.
And then, all right, last question, and then we'll shut it down. So I'm interested to see this. What does a perfect day of fishing look like for you? So give it a moment to let that soak in. I think I know what Andy's – or here, should I say it this way? The perfect kayak fishing trip, kayak angling trip. What does that look like? Andy, you go first.
Oh, it's whatever gets me out of the house, really. Like I've had great times. Like last year, I experienced the worst storm of my life I've ever on the water, but I had a blast. You know, a rainy day or a bad day fishing is better than a good day at the house.
I like how you said that, not at work. Well done. Well played.
Well, I sell kayaks, so it's not horrible.
No, because I thought you were going to say something along the lines of like a multi-day solo river trip. Fishing.
Oh, it is. That whether it's a 3-hour trip or a 7-day trip, it's still a trip.
Yeah. All right, Mike. What's your ideal trip or ideal day on the water look like?
You know what? That's such a tough one, but. It's got to be out kayak fishing with my family. You know, Ben's got his own kayak. Julie can run one of the other ones we have. Emily's got a kayak now. She can be in. Just being out with the family and enjoying the time on the water. Yeah. There's nothing better. I mean, you get out there, and I've got so many great pictures of Ben and Julie and Emily out fishing that, you know what, to me, just spending time with the family on the water, I don't care if I'm even fishing.
Nice. That's very cool. And Trevor, last but not least, ideal day out.
Well, for me, it's camping on a trip and having the kayaks there, right? I love the early morning fishing, early, like as early as it can be. And then and then coming back into camp, grabbing a bite to eat. Then as the weather warms up for the day, you know, maybe go out in the kayaks and not even bring the rods, but just to go out for paddle and jump off them and do some swimming and, you know, catch some sun rays, and then evening paddling, you know, taking everybody out, getting everybody out in their boats and catching fish. And that to me is the ideal time. And just doing it for multiple days in a single location that, you know, you're comfortable in, you know the fish, you know the area. That to me is the best.
Perfect. That's brilliant. Well, fellas, I want to say thank you for taking.
Actually, Simon.
Yeah.
Before we cut off here, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh God.
What tournament are you going to come to this year?
Oh,
that's a good question. But I will go on the record right now saying that I will go to one of them for sure. Because
perfect.
I keep putting it off. Whether it's the perch fishing derby at Summerside Lake or something, I'm going to come to one of them.
The Aquabatics derby.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, we're going to put it on the poster.
Put me on the poster with that little like 8-inch pike that I caught. It'll be brilliant.
Perfect. You beat Trevor.
No.
So I got the good news. So our winner, Mike, just so you know, for the East Slope fishing entry is Jason Wellen is our winner. So Jason will send you a message out and confirm. But you won that, and then I've got a whole bunch of other ones, but I'm going to announce that after we're all done. So thanks, fellas. Cheers for taking some time out on your Saturday or whatever day it is today. I had a fantastic time talking to you all, and thanks everyone for checking in. Hope you enjoyed listening to the boys chat, and have a great rest of the weekend. Stay safe, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me, Simon.
Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Simon.
great that you put this on for us. And yeah, for anybody that's interested in kayak fishing, check out the Facebook group, Western Canada Kayak Fishing, Canadian residents only. You'll see us on there. Check out the East Slope page. Check out the Western Canadian Kayak Fishing page, and as well Nootka Marine Adventures. Follow them if you're planning on heading to Bucha.
Very cool. Thanks, gents. Super informative. Really fun. Had some good laughs. Have a great evening.
See you guys.
Peace.
All right. Thanks, Simon.